I am the big tank.
On the battlefield of life, nothing's harder than a tank. Yeah, have you ever met a man, hearts full of love, bigger than a tank?
Big tank.
He served in a few wars, he's a veteran that stands for a cause. For the best interviews and news, just keep it glued to the
Tank. I
tank.
am the tank. Big
Big
tank.
Tank Talk.
Tank.
Big Tank Talk.
Tank.
Big Tank Talk.
Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Big Tank Talk. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing DawnSVK.
What's up,
Uh,
everybody?
DawnSVK is a rapper. I've heard some of his stuff, and he's good. He's definitely an up and coming performer. So first question I have to ask you, because I know everybody watching is going to want to know if they don't know you already. What is SVK?
It stands for Shadow Viper King. So my whole artist name is Dawn the Shadow Viper King, but I have it as Dawn SVK for able to search better, and also it's catchy and I love it. And
Oh,
the Dawn part it means a dawn of a new era, to bring in a new era, not just to music but just into my life and other people's life. I mean, that's what I'm in this industry for. It's not just about the money for me. It's about changing how this industry is done, how artists are treated, and how this world is.
Well, I definitely understand that. I appreciate the explanation. Well, let's just jump right in then. What first got you into music?
What first got me into music is when I was a child. I was being abused in the home I was in, and also kicked out in the streets. And I first got into music by hearing Eminem. That was the first artist I heard, and it registered with me, and I could understand and I could relate, and I didn't feel as alone. And I thought, hey, I want to be able to do something like that. I mean, I was sitting and listening, and it was impacting my life as I'm every second I'm listening to it. And it was, I could feel it. And I'm like, I want to do this. This is something I want to do. I can use this. I can use this to not just change my situation, but change others as well.
I understand that, and I know Eminem used his ability uh, to create a persona that people relate to, and his music, which is of course rap music, was uh, his stepping stone out of a bad situation.
Yeah.
Were you in a bad situation that you needed to escape from as well?
Yes, I was. I grew up in Durham, North Carolina, in McDougal Terrace, which is that's the ghetto of Durham. Like it's the area where, like, if you're not known there, you can end up in a milk carton or on a fucking poster, for missing very quickly. And that's where I grew up at, and I was a kid on these streets. Like, I wasn't a teenager or anything. I was an 8-year-old kid. And it was rough. I was being abused in the home I was in when I was able to even go there. So, you know, it's not a good situation at all.
Yeah, it sounds like it's definitely a rough way to come up. Um, so let's kind of venture away from that. I like to try to keep things as positive as I can. So, if you could describe your creative process for me.
My creative process is, what I do is, like, my mind runs at like a million miles an hour. I've got ADHD like hell. So I take that, and I go with, I go with things that I've been through, or things that I have witnessed, very much stuff that's in reality, or stuff that I know I can speak about and have a factual basis with. I don't like talking about stuff that isn't of a factual nature, because to me that's not as relatable. Yeah, maybe somebody has gone through it, but me speaking about it, I can't say that, hey, I've gone through it. So at that point, it's not where I can then, be as helpful as I would want to.
Okay, I understand that. Um, now, as you've been working through the process of from start to aspiring performer to maybe eventually star, because this industry is certainly, if nothing else, unpredictable. What's been the
Very.
best advice you've been given since you started this musical journey?
The best advice I've been given is no matter what, keep moving forward, keep pushing, just keep pushing, and you'll get to where you want to be. There's actually another piece of advice. The other piece of advice is no matter what, as long as you stick to what you believe in and stick to your moral code, at the end of the day, you can at least say that you're okay.
And is that a message that you would also forward to fans of DawnSVK?
Yes. At the end of the day, as long as you can say that you're okay, that's a good place to start. As long as you can be okay at the end of the day, at the very least.
That's fair. What is the inspiration that helps you get up every day and make music and continue to pursue something that I'm sure anyone would say, for anyone starting out, it's a long shot. Nobody's guaranteed anything. So what's the inspiration that keeps you pushing forward?
My inspiration is a couple things. A, because I want to make a difference in this world. This world is really, really messed up, and I want to be able to create a positive, impactful change, even if it's just to a group of people. At least I've made a change. And then also my inspiration is my wife and our son. I want our son to have a much better upbringing, especially than I did. I don't want our son to sit there and be out in the streets. I want him to have a childhood. I want him to have the things that I didn't. When I was growing up.
That's definitely a worthwhile inspiration, if you ask me. Um, Let me ask you, how do you feel the internet has impacted the music business? Now, you're still pretty young,
Um,
so you may not remember a time
I
before the internet.
I I remember a time without internet mainly because when I was growing up, I didn't per se have internet, or my internet was very limited. So, with that being said, with the internet, it's brought it to where artists can. It makes it to where artists aren't as locked down as they were. It's brought positive, you know, waves into the music industry by giving artists a better way and a more effective way of having the voice out. But on that same token, it's also impacted it to where you have, I hate to put it this way, but wannabe artists out there that then it's not that they may not have the best intentions or anything, but this is just not their industry, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. But it also brings in that where it makes artists that are really in this and really are to be pushing this. It makes it harder for them to then be discovered, and also it makes it to where it makes like promoting and advertising easier, but then it also makes artists that aren't as motivated with it, it makes them feel like, oh, I can then slack off and the internet's going to take care of everything. No, that's not how this works. You still have to put in the time and the push and the grind with it.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I've asked that question in previous interviews, and one of the big negatives the internet has provided is it can make artists lazier,
Yep.
because they're not out actually having to shake hands and do FaceTime with people. I mean, actual face-to-face meetings and what they call pounding the pavement to get your name out and get your music out. So
Yep.
I definitely, I
And I
definitely see
see that as a, oh, sorry. And I see that as a big problem because, like, if you this is what you want to do, if this is truly what you want to do, just like anything, you have to put in the time and the energy. I mean, me and my wife have been up, I can't tell you how many times, how many countless hours, days, weeks, months on end, just even working on an album or one track or pushing, this, that, and the third. I mean, we've got a son, a 4-year-old son, and so we have to balance all that. So yes, it gets tough, but at the end of the day, if this is really what you want, it's not per se work. It's
completed a song together called Checkmate.
And as my wife just said, we just completed a song called Checkmate, which will be out on my album upcoming on December 2nd of this year, my first ever album. But as I was also saying, like, you have to find that balance with this, yes, but at the same time, if this is what you truly, truly want to do, you have to be willing to put in that time and effort for it. And if that's not what you truly are willing to do and make that sacrifice, then this is not for you.
I can certainly understand that. Um, given that there's such a wide variety of styles of music, and you can stay within your own genre, or you can, in this question I'm about to ask, you can choose somebody from any genre. But the question I'd like to ask is, if anyone in the music business that you're aware of, famous or not, who would you most like to collaborate with?
Who would I most like to collaborate with? There's a couple. One, I would love to collaborate with Eminem. He is definitely my idol within music. Also, someone I would love to collaborate is I'm trying to think of the name.
Awesome, that's what are you trying to say?
He was with Carolina Waves. Starts with J.
Juice Lord?
Yes, Juice Lord. I would love to collaborate with Juice Lord. I met him at a Carolina Waves event, and like he is an amazing artist. And then also I would love to collaborate with the likes of Hobson, NF, Dax. They are really within my genre and style of music. Is that and Skiz Craven as well. But they're in my style of music, like the horrorcore rap, the very real, in your face, no holds bar. I'm gonna say what is needed to be said rather than what the sugar coat cookie cutter BS. I don't play that. The sex, money, drugs crap. Yeah, it is what it is. But that's not all of what music is. Music is meant to have a message, have a purpose of impact and change, not to just be like, oh, I've got a flashy chain, I've got a bunch of money, and I can fucking do bitch I want. Who the fuck cares about that? I don't.
I can respect that. Um, if you could change anything about the music industry, and I don't know, I'm not real privy to the journey you've had so far within the industry, but if you could make a change in the industry, what would it be?
The change I would make is the ability of the gatekeeping. There is a gatekeeping system. And I get why it's there. It's there to keep, the wannabe artist out from getting to there. But at that same time, I feel like there needs to be a method of artists that really are pushing out here that may not have the financial situation or the ability to travel constantly out there like that, to be able to really be able to get noticed more, and be able to get to those higher levels. It takes more of a push and grind, which, don't get me wrong, I'm willing to do any day of the week. But at the same time, that gatekeeping system, I feel like, is borderline how the government runs their crap. It becomes very political. It becomes very very lower minded and very how would I put it, very very expectational, and not in a good way.
Okay, that's fair. I understand that, and I understand in the music business, uh, when they find something that works, they like to continue to push that particular thing, whether it's an artist that hits it big, so they want to ride that artist as long as they can, or a genre. So I get that, and I understand that there are several. I'm sure there's a lot of very talented performers who never really get a shot at being a success in the business because of that gatekeeping you referred to.
Yep. And the other thing is how it becomes all about money. That's not what music is for. It's not about just putting a paycheck and millions of dollars in your pocket. Like I said, it's about bringing a message around. So it when it gets to that point of, oh, let's push this artist just to make a couple $100 million. Well, at the end of the day, is that artist really going to make that long lasting impact like Eminem, Tupac, Biggie, all them did?
Right. And that's just that to me is a risk any performer has to take if they get in the music business, because at the end it's a lot about money as much as it's not the pleasant side of the business. Money is what makes everything work. So in
Yeah.
that respect, you're right. It's a lot like how government does, but everything comes down to the dollar. So you have to be, to me, you have to be willing to find a way to work around that system and still push your art, your performances out there.
Exactly. And that's why, at where I was with a company and he was very much just about the dollar. I worked with him for 2 years, never got paid a cent. And I know, no, my at that time my music didn't make very much, but guess what? It made something and I saw none of it. Not a single penny in 2 years. And then after after I told him, look, I'm gone and I'm taking everything, he was like, well, I'm taking you to court. Well, in my contract it states that you're supposed to pay me every 3 months. You paid me nothing. Fuck you. Have a nice day. I'm gone. And I took every bit of my music. And now me and my wife have our own music production company and promotion and marketing company called Dawn's Diamond Entertainment. And, what our company is about is finding those artists that may not have the financial and everything, which like I was talking about before, and bringing them in where they can get noticed. They can have that more of a higher chance of getting to that that stardom point and everything.
Okay, that sounds fair. Let me ask you, with respect to being in the music business, what's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is losing myself. Losing myself and losing my moral compass, because I came very close to doing that already.
And you lost me.
And I lost my wife in the process. I lost everything because I decided to go in the direction that the owner of the company I was with wanted me to go, instead of going by what I felt was appropriate and right. And instead of me putting out the stuff that I per se wanted to, instead of putting out the stuff he wanted to. And in the end of it all, I lost everything. I lost my home. I lost my wife. I lost my own who I was. I lost my identity. I lost my self-respect. And I got pushed back into what I was doing back, when I was a kid, with, into drugs, into everything that was negative and not positive at all.
It was an incredibly rough time for you.
It was a very,
All
very
right,
rough time for me.
I understand that. I assume now that you left that negativity behind you.
Yep. As of today, I am 8 months clean.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's
Uh,
been it's
I,
been a
and I
it's
have
been a
one
rough
more
road.
question. I've got one more question, and ordinarily it would be something as simple as what's next for DawnSVK. I do know that since you mentioned it earlier, that you're dropping an album in early December. So
Yep.
let's look more long term and more down the road. What's next for you, or what do you see yourself doing that and
What
long term?
what I see doing for myself long term is pushing and pushing to where, even if I don't per se get to that quote unquote stardom, pushing to where people know who I am and what I'm about and what the point is of what I'm doing. And to really be able to reach, you know, millions upon millions of people, and then be able to have something to pass down,
Trials of adversity.
be able to pass down to our son. I'm actually also working on it's kind of an album, but it's similar to what Hobson did
Ill mind.
with Ill Mind. It's going to be a several parts of different tracks, and it's called Trials of a Viper. I just actually recorded my first part of that last night, and it's basically going to be telling parts of, you know, my story and my journey in more detailed and more fluid parts.
The full-blown testimony.
Yep, the
of
full-blown
everything.
testimony of the trials that I went through.
I'm looking forward to hearing it.
It's incredibly deep. Honestly, it got to me. Don't put my face on it. It got to me like for the fact that, and I know his journey. I know how far he's come from like coming from the addiction, going into sobriety, and I've been with him on and off for 12 years. So I've seen the struggle. I've seen how like he has grown into the person he is, aka evolution of SVK, which means that it's him becoming what he truly was meant to be in the first place.
Yep. And speaking of evolution of SVK, that's the name of my upcoming album. Like I said, drops December 2nd of this year, which is my birthday. Hey, I'll be 29 years old.
Finally. No, I'm joking.
But
All
yeah,
right.
it's called Evolution of SVK. And like my wife was saying, it's about the journey and the steps of taken, and you know, a me now of the point I am now.
And honestly, with his sobriety, I've noticed that, like, say if he goes in an Uber or something, one, he promotes his music, and then out of nowhere, it could be somebody that's struggling with addiction or somebody that is also dealing with their spouse or significant other or kid that is dealing with addiction. And Dawn is able to say, "Hey, you're not alone." His testimony is going to change people's lives. I feel like that if he does this album, he's going to change the face of music. It's going to be a type of thing where not only for men that deal with the suicidal ideation or drug addiction, they're going to feel like they're not alone. They're going to feel like, hey, this person I can relate to, and I will be able to get through this therapeutically, and maybe his music can save my life. And that's how I feel about his music. Trials of a Viper is going to be the most intense, inspirational, epic songs and into an album. Like he really touched my soul when I heard it this morning. And then his song, well, my song actually is called Checkmate. That song is on a very deep level of being the spouse who has dealt with addiction herself, and then going on the other spectrum of actually seeing him go through it and how to help him through it and evolve and grow as a family and as a couple, and be able to help people out, and them not be alone as well. I see him doing a great positive good in music, and I can't wait to see him start this. The album is just the very beginning of what this man is going to do.
Most definitely.
And I'm not.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Are you going to be on all streaming platforms?
Yes, it'll be on Spotify, Apple Music. It'll be on, I believe, Amazon Music. I believe it'll also be on YouTube. It'll be any and everywhere.
Okay. That's pretty much what I have for now. I appreciate you taking the time to be here and answering my questions, and hopefully my listeners will get a better idea of who you are and look forward to hearing your music.
I appreciate this time, and you can find me on my Instagram is DawnSVK. You can find me on Facebook under Christopher Jones, and you can also find our company on Instagram at DawnSVK ENT, and on Facebook DawnSVK ENT.
And not only that, we also plan to promote your lovely YouTube channel as well, because one, you're my cousin, so I got to.
And I really appreciate this opportunity to, come here and have this interview and be able to reach more people with, and that's being my ultimate goal and mission in this.
It's been a pleasure having you, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. Would you be willing to come back in say a year or so, or after you've had time for your album to drop, and to see how it's
Oh,
going
yeah.
and have another interview?
Oh yes, most definitely. I would love to. Most
All right.
definitely will.
And who
Well,
knows,
that
you might have an interview with me because I'll be dropping my music in 2024.
Yep, my wife will be dropping her music too in 2024, so I have another one there too.
all right. That's going to do it for this episode of Big Tank Talk. DawnSVK can be found on all streaming platforms. Look for his album to drop on August or December the 2nd, and I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.